months after a 14-year-old Austin girl was mysteriously found dead on the side of the road with severe injuries. New body camera footage is showing a tense conversation between her family and police. Senior investigative producer David Barer explains why days after Treysuhr Carter was taken off life support, police were suggesting her death was an accident. David, welcome to Inside the Investigation. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. David, this story that we just saw a little preview of, it started as a tip about a 14-year-old girl's death, Treysuhr Carter. In December 2023, she was found on the side of the road with multiple injuries. And at the time that you started looking at this case, it was ruled an accident. What made you want to look into this?
That's right. We got an email about this to the investigative office last April, and I think that when there's a death of a young person, that immediately becomes, one of the most important things that we could look into. So that obviously caught my attention. Our coworker Sarah Al-Sheikh had done a brief report on this right around the time, near the time that Treysuhr had died, and then nothing more really had been done by us. So I looked back over what, had happened and what was in the tip, and it did stand out to me because it said that Treysuhr, the case was an accident, and Treysuhr had fallen off a scooter, or the police said she had fallen off a scooter and died. And so I think anyone, including myself, who's ever ridden one of those small razor kind of push scooter things knows that it's really extremely unlikely that you could die from falling off of one. So that was what really raised a red flag for me.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know many people who haven't been on a razor scooter who hasn't fallen off at some point, and it is hard to believe. Your previous report, and we're about to watch it, but it had quite an impact. The medical examiner ended up reviewing the case and changing his determination, and I think after you guys watch this story, you'll understand why. So let's play it.
It definitely brings me peace when I'm here. I've been here at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, in the dark, and I just talked to her.
A memorial stands just blocks from the apartment where 14-year-old Treysuhr Carter lived with her family, a nearby reminder of the mystery that remains. Months after police closed her case, labeling it an accident, her loved ones still wonder what really happened on this Northeast Austin road at dusk that day last December. And is a killer still out there?
Black, white. Black female. Looks like her name's gonna be Treysuhr Carter, Trey. She's not breathing right now. Okay, so
this is a classic whodunit.
911, do you need an ambulance?
Ambulance, yes.
So it was really dark. We were just headed out to get a bite to eat, and I saw something in the road. Oh my gosh, that's a person.
Hi, we just found a body on the side of the road. I think she was either hit by a car or something.
I figured she was a teenager, and she was laying on her, about right here, I'd say, like on her back, face up.
Okay, and are they awake? Her eyes are open, but she's not responsive.
I, of course, called 911 immediately, and I performed CPR waiting for the paramedics to arrive.
I'm going to tell you how to do chest compressions.
Okay, all right.
Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
What did you think had happened?
It was a little kid that got hit by something, struck, tossed up in the air. Something hit her.
1, 2, 3, 4.
At first glance, you see a body, you see a scooter, you see shoes scattered.
The paramedics are here.
Thank you.
Okay.
She's been hit. I don't see any way else to explain it.
So what happened?
She felt warm, so I'm guessing that whatever happened may have just happened.
We have a vehicular homicide detective coming.
Okay.
Just because he's working backfill, and they're the ones that are responsible for investigating crashes with serious bodily injury or death.
Why was the case of Treysuhr Carter late last year assigned to this unit?
So
One of our investigators with vehicular homicide, he heard about it and he figured he would go over and assist. And as it looked like the victim was not going to survive her injuries, we went ahead and transferred it over to the vehicular homicide unit at that time.
We have heard that this case was initially considered a hit and run. Why?
Initially, when our officers responded,
Weird, dude. Super weird.
they weren't exactly clear on what was going on.
I don't know if she got hit or if she just fell. What if she just got dumped?
So there was a lot of confusion initially.
We're just having a little bit of trouble figuring out if this was actually a crash or not. I'd rather treat it like a crash. I think you have to, so yeah.
Just title it, fail to stop run raid for now.
Okay.
I'll assign to it.
43. We're going to treat it like a crash.
Or EMS and fire put out that it was a hit and run, even though we had no information to indicate that at the time. It really should have been the police department assessing the scene to determine if an actual crime had been committed before putting out that it had been a hit and run.
We asked and were told no records exist showing who actually made the initial call to label this a hit and run. It's not even clear in the body camera footage from that night. What we did see in that video, though, potential key evidence at the scene we later learned police left behind.
When we went out the next day, remember, we were picking up these things that was found around where Treysuhr got hit.
This is what she was. I think that's probably hers too, because that looks very new. That looks like a do-rag.
I found her do-rag down the street from where her body was found. We wasn't quite sure if somebody threw that out. As you can see, it's beer cans and liquor kind of stuff here. If it's a fingerprint on here, then we could give that to them and then they can analyze it.
What's that?
Scooter right here. We went back to get her scooter, but by that time, now her scooter is gone.
The scooter that Treysuhr was riding was left at the scene, and then the next day it disappeared.
My investigator responded to look at the scene. He indicated to the patrol officers that they should probably go ahead and seize the scooter, even though he wasn't sure if it was involved, but that should have been done at a minimum.
Yeah, I saw it. It's like a little push scooter.
But for whatever reason, it was not seized at that time as evidence.
Dude, I think she got hit by a car intentionally. What? Scooter was here. Her body was back by the fire truck.
You know, certainly in my experience, sometimes things are missed initially that should have been done. You know, it's part of police work, unfortunately.
Why haven't you given any of this stuff to the police?
I haven't given any of this to them because from the beginning, they were not being trustworthy. It wasn't important, her scooter, at all.
You don't think so? No.
The vehicular homicide detective at the scene even wrote in the police report the scooter did not seem related to the collision. Still, APD told us in our interview it addressed officers' oversight for failing to pick up the still missing scooter as evidence, but at that time, it had not disciplined anyone involved. The report also notes the location of the scooter along the road where I'm standing. Treysuhr's body up to 40 feet south, where you see the first orange cone, and then her shoes up to another 50 feet south, where you see the second orange cone. That means evidence was possibly scattered up to 90 feet across the scene. Her family and medical experts we found say that leaves further doubt this was just an accidental fall, especially when you see the list of injuries she suffered detailed in hospital and autopsy records we obtained. Coming up.
So, David, first of all, this is incredible reporting from you and Josh and our incredible photojournalist, Richie Bose. But I just want to point out to everybody listening, you know, sometimes you'll see laws change or bills be filed after investigations, but I don't know how common I think it's pretty rare to see medical examiners take another look at their own work after an investigative story. And so it's incredible. What was your thought when the medical examiner says they were going to take another look at this?
Yeah, I think it's unusual in a circumstance like this for the medical examiner to take another look. What the spokesperson for the medical examiner's office told us when all this was happening was that when they made their original decision, they were using the information that they had available at the time. And so When we came back and did our investigation and brought, gathered more evidence, we talked to multiple independent certified forensic pathologists, gave them the information and different records from the case to let them look at it. All of them came back, three of them came back with the, you know, thinking that this was a hit and run. And so when we gave all that over to the medical examiner's office, they had more information and evidence than they did when they made their original decision. And so that's what kind of drove them to reconsider everything, or to opt to do a review, and then that led to them amending the autopsy report.
What was the reaction from her family because I mean, Treasure's mom, from your reporting, had been doing a lot of this footwork on her own, talking to neighbors, putting posters up, trying to get information, talking to investigators, which, I've talked to families before who are in this loop of trying to get some conclusion or resolution in their child's case. And sometimes they never see any movement there. So what was their reaction when you told them, or when they found out that they were going to be amending the report?
I think that, well, I know that they were really happy about that for a few reasons. One is that they felt like they feel like now that the case is sort of on a better track than it was before. It wasn't going anywhere, being labeled as an accident. And so they were happy about that. They were happy that they were getting sort of a validation that their concerns all along were legitimate. I think that Treasure's mom, I get from her perspective, felt like people maybe thought she sort of has told me she felt like people thought she was crazy or something, because she was saying all these things, but the police, hadn't arrived at the same conclusion. The case wasn't going anywhere. And so there was a lot of validation there for them to, feel like we weren't, wrong all this time. Like there was more to this, and now they're looking at it. And so there was there's a lot of satisfaction in that sense. At the same time, they know that evidence was lost in the case, and that was an unfortunate thing. A lot of time has gone by. That's probably not good for an investigation. So they have concerns about that. And, they have mixed feelings about the whole thing because of that unfortunate circumstance.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, so just to give people a reference, what happened to Treasure, the incident, happened December 2023. Right. And then your report came out November 2024. And since then, you've kept in touch with her family. And in this last week, you got your hands on some body camera footage. Explain to us why you wanted to get a copy of this footage.
So Treasure's mom, Monica, really pushed us for a while to get this body camera video, and she wanted us to get it because she felt like it showed something important to them, which was that they didn't feel like the police were taking this seriously enough, or they also felt like that when the police came in, to back up a little bit, what the body camera shows is on January 9th, which is 3 days after Treasure was taken off of life support, the detectives and two officers came to their apartment and talked to the family. And so it shows that interaction. And what the Treasure's mom had told us is you should watch this because they felt like it showed that the police had arrived kind of at a conclusion at that point already. And so that was their concern. We got the body camera video. It took a long time. It was not easy to get. But it does show that the police that came in told them, we are leaning towards saying this is an accident. And they explained, there were not the hallmarks of a hit and run that they could see at the scene, like debris or skid marks, blood. The injuries weren't apparent on Treasure. And so those were things that were holding them back from saying it was a hit and run. But again, the feeling from Treasure's family, her mom and her sister, Tanisha, was that that the conclusion had been made. That's how they felt at the time. So that's why they wanted us to see it.
And I got a chance to watch it earlier today. We're going to play it for you now. It's important to watch. So I'll leave it there and we'll go ahead and play it.
I mean, you watched the video, you pretty much kind of heard the response when I asked the questions. It was like, hey, we're doing our job. We've been doing this for a while.
In recent days, Tanisha Plummer sat for an interview with our team in her mother's living room, the same spot where she spoke with Austin police detectives a year ago about her little sister dying.
So I'm a vehicular homicide detective. What my unit does is we investigate fatality collisions. I'm very sorry to hear about Treasure's passing. I really, I want you guys to know that we're here and we take this all very seriously, especially my unit. This is my passion.
Police closed Treysuhr Carter's case as an accidental death just weeks after these moments. They said that decision stemmed from the medical examiner's findings, though the ME's office has since told us its ruling was based on the information it had at the time. It reevaluated the case after we shared medical opinions, body camera footage from the scene, and other key evidence unavailable when the examination was conducted.
Usually when people are struck by vehicles, even at slow speed, there's a lot of injury that's sustained, there's a lot of bruising that happens, there's other injuries. It's never localized just to like one spot on the body.
But they said that there was road rash on her back, like from here down.
Beyond minor road rash, the lead detective wrote in the police report, Treysuhr didn't appear to have other trauma. He later added there was no debris from a crash, no skid marks, no blood. But medical records note a traumatic brain injury with brain bleeding, a broken and dislocated neck, a shattered shin bone, and lacerations of her kidneys, liver, and spleen. Traumatic details her sister and other family members have never let go.
I've been here at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I just talked to her.
What caused all the other internal damages?
Usually when people are struck by a vehicle, there's a lot more legs and hips and ribs and spinal columns and skull fractures, especially skull fractures.
I don't know if she got hit or if she just fell. What if she just got dumped? This is where she was.
Okay, so where was she found?
She was found right here.
What's that?
That's a scooter right here. If you fall, you're going to be close to the scooter, so was she found close to the scooter?
I think that's probably hers too, because that looks very new.
The police report shows the distance between objects at the scene. Treysuhr's shoes, scooter, and her body were spread 70 to 90 feet apart. Still, the lead detective maintained the idea there was no collision, but likely an accidental fall.
I have 3 kids, so I know what it's like. I don't know what it's like to lose a child, but I know how much you love your kids and how much you want answers. And so I kind of wanted to come give you guys some of those answers. I had assumed as a parent, I had thought it would be better for me to know that maybe my child was hurt in an accident rather than assuming that someone ran over my child and just left them there, if that makes sense. That's why I wanted to come give you guys this information, because I think it's a tragic accident. That's what everything is indicating.
You know, this is your job. You say you have kids. You should treat the situation like it's your child. And if it was your child, you would not want someone to just satisfy you with an answer. You would want them to full force go and find those answers. And that is not what we have received, not then and not now.
So y'all are basically here to tell us that y'all are going to try to rule this as an accident.
Well, no, I'm not closing anything right now.
They kind of came in with their minds already made up on the decision for her investigation. So it was kind of frustrating to deal with that, because that's basically what we were told right off the beginning, that it was an accident.
You have to give us a better explanation, because I'm getting agitated right now, because you basically telling me you here to rule it out as an accident. That was not an accident, and we need to see every piece of proof that says that that is an accident.
Scooter was here. Her body was back by the fire truck.
But vital proof went missing, like Treysuhr's scooter, never recovered from the scene.
Even if you felt it was a scooter accident, you left the scooter. Mm-hmm. Why
So the scooter probably should have been taken.
It's 43. We're going to treat it like a crash.
Despite this admission, it was clear the detective was skeptical a vehicle was involved. During the initial scene investigation, he noted a lack of evidence and any viable leads in the police report.
Just title it fail to stop and render aid for now.
Still, he instructed officers to title it a failure to stop and render aid, the charge for a hit-and-run incident.
Usually when someone is struck by a vehicle, there's a lot of physical evidence. People sustain a lot more injuries. I said, this seems consistent to me with more of a scooter fall. I said, I don't know that she was struck by a vehicle. It doesn't appear that way. But I said, just to cover our bases, let's make sure we investigate it like it is.
This is one of the first flyers I put up while Treysuhr was still in the hospital.
With the hit-and-run label, the family assumed police were investigating a crime. So it was confusing when the detective suggested Treysuhr accidentally fell from her scooter.
I'm an accident reconstructionist. I've gone through a lot of training and a lot of things, and when we respond to scenes and we kind of put together things and figure out the evidence and what happened.
The questions that I was asking were not valid, that they were seasoned detectives, they knew what they were doing, and kind of that they were offended with the questions.
Police said no one at APD was disciplined for failing to collect evidence.
I won't stop until it's over. I don't care what it takes. I'll be here.
While the case has since reopened, Treysuhr's family fears any chance for accountability may be lost.
And I'm going to see this to the end.
Along with catching a driver they believe is responsible.
The grieving process, even a year later, hasn't started for my mom. It hasn't started for my family, you know.
You're still waiting for answers.
We're still waiting, and we're not going to stop until we get them, you know what I mean? Because that's what Treysuhr would want.
David, that conversation was, I'm sure you have been working with this family for so long, but that was very difficult to watch. What jumped out to you watching that conversation?
I mean, you can see that it was really an emotionally charged situation, and it was talking about the interaction on the police body camera footage. It was just like you said, it's hard to watch, and you can only imagine, you know, the difficulty that the family was going through at that time, just a few days after they lost their sister and daughter, and then being in a room and really not hearing what you want to hear at all. So it just, you know, it stuck out to me that what they had recalled was pretty accurate when they said, you know, you need to go look at this, you need to obtain this body camera footage, and you need to see what they said, because we didn't feel like that it was a good situation for us. And so at least now I think that they're happier that the police have opted to take another look at it, and it's under review again.
Mm-hmm. And it just goes to show that this isn't, you know, police work is hard, investigating these things is hard, and it's not an exact science always. And that it's interesting. I think you guys, more than anything, for me, have pulled back the layer of what this looks like for a family as an investigation is ongoing, what this looks like when the day a scene is happening, and how the pieces they have to put together. What's next in the case? Because for the family, there's a lot still unresolved.
Right. Yeah. The case is sort of in a state of limbo, I guess. Since the medical examiner amended the autopsy report, the police essentially reopened the case, and then they're taking a review of it. And so there's apparently detectives or police involved that are looking back over it, looking into everything that was going on. And when that's complete, they could change how the case is classified. It's currently still classified as an accident. It'll remain that way until the review is done. At that point, it could be changed or it could remain the same.
David, thank you so much for your reporting and for joining us here today. I know that anyone who just sat through all of this will definitely be looking out for updates on where this ends up. But if you're interested in learning more about the case and KXAN's extensive reporting on Treysuhr, you can go to KXAN.com under the Investigates tab. And of course, be sure to join us here on Fridays, every Friday, for an Inside the Investigation episode. Thank you, David.
Thanks for having me.